State of the city address. I'm your city manager, John Griffin, for those of you who I haven't met. Turn you over to the man that I'm going to say here. But before I do, I just want to introduce some of our dignitaries who are here with us tonight. Start with the most important person. Can't hear, not be here. All right. I don't do this. Thank you, Ken. So starting with planning commission, chair of our planning commission, Mr. Mike Gable. Next meeting, commissioner, Luis Geffel. Eric Weaver, also on the planning. George, our planning commissioner. All right, so I'm not going to introduce everybody who has done important things for the city, or done a lot of activity. The city, I have to introduce all of you. Just going to introduce them now. All right, sir. So I'm going to do this. Tell him to singer. All right. All right. So, and then council members here tonight. We have council member Kip Sherman. Council member Mike Porter. And council member Jeremy Howard. Obviously the mayor. And then, I saw her. Supervisor Wendy Rudas right here in front of me. And then also former council member and now member of board trustees.
Board of Trustees, is that what you guys
So I
call it?
guess on
The board of directors for the airport district, John Gagliotti. Okay, without further ado, I'm gonna hand you over to the mayor and he's gonna entertain you and he's gonna remember to hold the mic up.
All right, thank you, John, and welcome everyone to the Moose. Kathy, can you hear me okay in the back? Is that good? No? A little bit closer? How about now? Okay. Got it. I first want to welcome all of our appointed and elected officials. Thank you very much for being here and supporting Delray Oaks. I would also like to give a shout out to Mark and the staff here at the Moose. Alden's done a fantastic job for us in hosting these types of events. Most importantly, I want to thank our residents for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. And I hope I'm able to make it worthwhile for you. So thank you for being here. Before I get to the agenda, what I would like to do is just give you a personal update. A lot of folks have noticed that I've been wearing a hat to the council meetings, other events that is going on. I don't do that to create a fashion statement. The truth of the matter is, for the past 4 years, I've been in a pretty tough battle with cancer. And I've had several surgeries, one that I'm still recovering from. I've gone through a couple of rounds of radiation at Stanford, and I'm currently being treated at the cancer center on Ryan Ranch. And I know that sounds a little depressing, but I want to tell you that I've never felt stronger in all these 4 years than I do right now. And I recently had a PET scan, and the results came back that I'm cancer free. Really means a lot. I'll tell you what, as I've gone through this journey, I just want to thank all the residents that supported me throughout this. It was just absolutely incredible what this community did for me. Thoughts, prayers, letters, cards, making meals for me, and just doing things that make a good community great. And I just can't thank you enough, because I feel so much gratitude being part of this community. And I'm just so lucky to have folks like you that took care of me when I was going through a very hard time. So thank you for that. Okay, when I first thought of the state of the city presentation, I wanted to use it as a way to highlight those great things that are happening within the city and what kind of fantastic that we have, and also give you an update on some of the important things that are going on within the city. And John, if you'll go to the agenda, one of the first things is Fortag. I know that's probably the thing I get asked about most. But we also have a few other items on the agenda, total six of them. But let's go ahead and start with Fortag. Okay, the headline there is that construction will continue until the end of the year. They still have a lot to do, and you probably noticed that when you're out and about, that they've got a lot of work to do. So people ask, Tyler, thanks for being here. Mayor of Monterey, everybody. So folks ask, how could that happen? I mean, why is it being delayed the way that it is? There are really two things. The first one is a change in plans. And that could be as simple as raising the height of a structure or making it bigger or smaller. But it can also get complicated in that they have to redo an engineering plan, for example, because they failed to account for a utility line that was in the way. So those create and have created delays for the project. The other thing, and this is also pretty significant, is the work that they've done that they got to go back and fix and redo. And I'm going to show you a couple of examples. I've got some pictures of that I'll show you a little bit later. So when we think about the city's role in this project, it's really to coordinate with all the entities that are out there. We have project managers that are on the scene. We've got contractors, we have subcontractors, and we want to make sure that able to do what they need to do within the city. So that coordination is key. And we also facilitate to make sure that we have everything that they need from the city, we provide it, whether it's access, whether they need parking area, for example, for their vehicles and their equipment. We have gone above and beyond to facilitate that. And I will just tell you that this city, because we do that, has never been the source of any of these delays. The next item is we provide that oversight and quality control because in the end, we want to make sure that we get a product that they promised us, the condition that they specified. And we're gonna stay on that. We spend a lot of time making sure that they're doing the work right. That often leads to that one bullet there where they have to go back and redo the work. But I will tell you that it's very important because we don't have the luxury, we don't have the money to go back and fix things that they should have provided us from the beginning. So that's a critical part, and it's going to be one of those things that the city makes sure is a priority. Now, moving forward, what you'll continue to see is work on the different segments of the trail, and they'll be going back to some parts to fix what they already did. The one thing to point out, I don't know if you remember last year about this time, there was a PG&E utility pole that was down in the Frog Pond area that caused all kind of trouble and all kinds of delays. Well, that's because there's a fish and wildlife permit that goes into effect on the 15th of October. So if they're unable to complete all of the work that they have on the Frog Pond side of the bridge, they'll have to cease work, just like they did with the utility pole on the 15th of October. They won't be able to go back into that area then until the 15th of April. So they're under the gun. They've got basically two and a half months to complete all that work. And I've got a picture of that to show you the area I'm talking about and what the current status of it is. Okay, here's the first look. So this is the bridge And I took this picture maybe a couple days ago, so it's up to date. And as you can see, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. In addition to what you see there, they're reworking an engineer plan to make sure that that area does not flood during the rainy season, because there's some concern because it's a low area and they haven't incorporated that into the engineering plan that they will probably have to raise that, because during the rainy season it'll get flooded down there through the tunnel, and absolutely we do not want that. This is the look from the other side, and that's what I talked about with the permit. Once again, you can see there's still a lot of work to be done, but basically that edge of the bridge all the way into the frog pond and around the corner that goes adjacent to the Carlton houses there on the corner, that is the area impacted by the fish and wildlife permit. So all of that, everything you see here, plus as you turn around and head towards Carlton Drive, needs to be finished by October 15th. Okay, here's an example of work that needs to be redone. This is Carlton Drive as it goes down to Highway 218. Because of damage by heavy vehicles, they're going to have to go back and repave this area. So it's basically from where you see number 4 Carlton and the corner of Work Avenue and Saucedo. They have to redo that all the way down to Highway 218. This is the path that goes basically from the tennis court out to Safeway. That's the backside of Safeway that you see. This is similar to what I just showed you. There was some heavy equipment that did damage on this section of the trail too, and they're going to have to go back and redo a segment of that as well. I just wanted to show you, this is our tennis court slash pickleball court. Just wanted to show you the progress with that this coming week. I believe a week after, the crew is coming in to put the surface on there. And just like under the bridge, they're working out to make sure that that area is level and that it doesn't puddle water. I mean, that's the last thing you need when you're on a tennis court. So they're going to have to take a lot of time to make sure that's completely smooth. Okay, just wanted to show you here, this is the butterfly pollinator garden. And you can see also they still have a lot of work to be done in that particular area. Okay, let me talk about city finances real quick. I tried to find the best way to describe it. You know, I'm thinking of words like frugal and, you know, within our means. That's what I came up with, that this city operates within our means. It's kind of like living paycheck to paycheck in a lot of ways, but we do it well. The other thing I wanted to point out is because we do that, you will see no reduction in the services that you've come accustomed to receiving through the city. That will remain exactly the same under this budget. And that's without any new taxes to cover any deficits. Also wanted to point out that we have a very strong reserve that sits at about 1.7 million, and I'll refer back to that in a second, but that allows us to withstand any type of emergency situation that may come to us, that we can continue to operate. Our revenues, they're projected to about be the same. So the revenue, our revenue sources, amount of revenue is going to be relatively flat. And that's really no different than any other city that is in the county. I know that other cities are dealing with the same type of situation, probably the county too. Our top 5 sources of revenue. Number 1, sales tax. And think about Safeway and Tarpe's. They are our 2 biggest contributors to sales tax. Next is property tax. The third thing, believe it or not, is the transient occupancy tax that we get on our short-term rentals. That's number 3. Number 4 is the business licenses that we charge all of the businesses in Delray Oaks to operate. And then the fifth, I take you back to our strong reserves. The interest that we make on that 1.7 is our fifth largest source of revenue. So it's kind of plays a dual role. Expenses, everybody is seeing this. Every city, the county level is seeing that personnel and police costs are rising. So is our insurance, especially liability. So our liability insurance last year went up 35% in a year. Pretty substantial. The health insurance for our employees also went up as about 12, 13% there. So I tell you that because even though we're in very good shape right now, it's really not sustainable because those revenue, the revenue sources will remain flat, but our expenses, no doubt, will continue to rise. Okay, that's why our four-door development is so important to us. About 2 months, 3 months ago, the council directed the city manager to find developers who had experience with four-door properties and proven success to see if they would be interested in our four-door property. 3 developers were interested. At that point, the council directed the city manager to pull together our economic development team and assess which one could we potentially start continuing talks and potentially move forward with. Of those 3, the one that they identified is Shea Homes, and they've done other work within Marina and outside the area as well. The city manager then recommended to the council that we continue that dialogue with Shea Homes with the ultimate goal, well, not ultimate goal, but the next step goal is to potentially enter into an exclusive right to negotiate with them. We've been there before. Some of you might remember City Ventures. It was about maybe a year, 2.5 years ago that they entered into an exclusive negotiating agreement with the city. And what that is, it's a viability feasibility study on behalf of the developer. Basically, what they do is look at all the challenges out there. They take a look to see if they've got enough or does it pencil out for them to take on those challenges and still be able to move forward. It's a very challenging property because of the environmental issues that are out there and the unexploded ordinance issues that are out there. What happened with City Ventures is they decided not to move forward. So that's what really allowed us to go back and start looking at other potential developers. If we enter into an exclusive negotiating agreement, what we plan to do is bring them, just like we did City Ventures, to meet the community where you all can meet them, they can meet you. I don't know if you remember, we did that a while back with City Ventures. We actually did it right here at the Moose, where they set up, where they showed projects they had done in the past, and community members were able to talk with them, ask questions. I think that's a really nice thing that we can implement as we move forward. The focus of our four-door development is twofold. We've received requirements from the state of California to provide housing at a certain number. For us, that number is 270 units. And we've identified that all of those units will go out on our four-door property. The other thing that the property, just like I was talking about the budget, allows for is revenue opportunities. And there, just like I said before, our first source of revenue being sales tax, we're looking for businesses that can provide us sales tax. Our transient occupancy tax, our third highest source of revenue, that would be another thing that we're looking at out there on our property. Okay, the old garden center. A lot of you know kind of the background on that and what happened with the old garden center, but let me just do a quick review. So we had a lot of issues with that tenant, a lot of lease violations. They were things like doing work without a permit, operating outside of the lease area. There were a few months where they did not pay rent. But the one reason that kind of brought it to the point where the council decided, hey, we do not want to renew this lease with this tenant is they severed the Cal-Am water line that went into that building and replaced it with a line that was from their untreated well water. We discovered that as we were going through and taking a look at renewing the lease. And as we were doing that work, that's when we discovered it. So it had been going on for quite some time. And realizing that the public safety and health of our residents were compromised, that's when we decided as a council, no, we don't want to continue on with this particular individual. The property definitely has its challenges. And it's really at this point limited to short-term use because there's a lot of construction activity that is happening and that will continue to happen in that area. And on top of it, the building that's there is in very poor condition. Matter of fact, when it was put in originally, it was just for temporary reasons. And I don't know how many years back, maybe people that have lived here for a while kind of know what time frame, but it is an old building meant to be temporary. It's still hanging in there, but probably will have to come down. In the long term, what we're looking for is a public-private partnership. And that happens a lot with a lot of cities where a company can come in and help develop that property and get long-term use from the city in order to do what they want to do. We're looking at things like generating sales tax. Remember Tarpies. Maybe some sales that complement the new trail as it is completed and folks start using it. Those are kind of things that we're potentially looking at to generate that revenue long term. But in the short term, looking for a tenant that, you know, it's going to be tough to find that right fit, but we're looking for something where we can get a little bit of revenue with a lease for a short period of time. Okay, so fire season's upon us, and it seems like every time you look in the news, there's another fire. Whether it's here in California, across the state, even in Europe, they're having difficulties. The city recognized our fire fuel issues a few years ago, and we applied for a grant. We received that grant to go through and clear out the area that's above the park and in between Villa Verde. We also used it to clear out Work Memorial Park. A lot of work's been done. I mean, you've seen it. It's pretty crazy when it's cleared out how much land is back there. And we used it to clear city-owned parcels. Fires don't know borders. So one of the things we did was looking outside and looking at our neighboring jurisdictions. We wanted to make sure that that fire threat was not there as well. Right now, we've collaborated with the city of Monterey to clear out South Boundary Road, and that's happening right now. If I had a picture of it, I'm going to show you. But they're clearing as we speak along South Boundary Road. It'll be open for Car Week, but it's going to take a couple more days for them to complete it. The other thing was the boundary between the Frog Pond and the backside of Carlton Drive. That had been neglected for years, and the Parks District got to a point where they were able to get CAL FIRE to go in and clear that out, and that has become an annual ritual for them. So I know a lot of people that live on Carlton Drive had that concern. That has become the standard. Just completed last week, the airport cleared the area behind the houses or on the fence line that's behind the houses on Rosita Road. That is another one that had been neglected for a very long time, and working in conjunction with the airport and collaborating with them and CAL FIRE, that was just completed. This picture was taken this morning, and it's South Boundary Road. It's on the Monterey side within the Monterey city limits as you move closer to Rancho Saucedo and take that turn to go into Ryan Ranch. That's that location. And they're working their way down to General Jim Moore Boulevard. This just happened last week. This is the airport. And you can see the fence behind those trees, and those houses are on Rosita Road. And you can see they lifted up the trees. You can see the debris from the brush that they cut, and it is it makes a huge difference through there. So that will be something then that they can maintain, just like the Parks District, get into that cycle of maintaining it on a yearly basis. All right, this is my last slide. And I just wanted to share with you some of the environmental successes that we've had. We've been a tree city for a very long time, but now we are a bee city. And we were able to do that with the help of our public works manager, Ron Fucci, to implement some maintenance practices that was pollinator friendly. In addition to that, we hosted a seed and plant giveaway at our picnic and also during Earth Day. And in addition to that, we've spread pollinator seeds throughout city-owned property. Additional efforts, once the butterfly pollinator garden is complete, it will have 4 boxes where we can plant pollinator flowers and plants in there. So that's coming. I've also taken the mayor's monarch pledge to help sustain the monarch population. And in addition to that, I wrote a letter in support of Assembly Member Don Addis's bill to protect monarch habitat. And that has moved into the Senate Appropriations Committee at this point. Hopefully it'll keep going. And I like this picture because it's kind of where Tree City meets Bee City. And it's the median on General Jim Moore Boulevard. Those trees along there, those oak trees, were courtesy of the Oak Tree Program. And like I was mentioning, throwing seeds out in public owned, our city owned property, we did that during the rainy season, and we got California poppies there now. So I thought this was kind of a cool picture. All right. So now we get to your favorite part, and the part that I wanted to spend the most time with. Maybe there was some things that I said that created questions in your mind, or maybe you had one coming in here, but now is the time you can ask any question. It doesn't have to be on the things that I covered. It could be any question. So Laura is gonna have the control of the mic. And if you have a question, please feel free to raise your hand. She'll come to you. And because I want to make sure everybody gets a chance, it's 1 question per person, okay?
You'll actually help. Yes, I'd like to know, in your negotiations, it's exclusive right to negotiate with Shay. Is that that will include a discussion about that roundabout that's supposed to happen, and that the Barlich curve, et cetera, and work along south boundary road?
Yeah, the short answer before I give the mic to the to the city manager is yes. We received money before Fora, but okay, before Fora closed, we received $8 million. Part of that is for the roundabout specifically, and part of it is held in a joint escrow account with the city of Monterey um, to complete the rest of the road. But as part of that, yes, that will be in the developer's plan. We can help out with that amount of money, but definitely it's going to be something that is included.
Yeah, not really much to add to that, other than the fact that, as you all know, the property that we have out there doesn't have utilities, and so in order to get utilities out there, such as water, wastewater, electricity, gas, all of that, we need that new road alignment because that gets us closer to the end of the connection right now, which currently stops at the city boundary, and then we can move everything out along that new road. So we don't want to do things more than once. So we don't want to build a new road and then tear it up and then put in infrastructure. So we want to put in the utility infrastructure and the road at the same time. Oh, sorry, but our developer is going to be a key partner in that. So we have to figure out how we're going to fund all of this, and they have to be a partner in that.
Thank you. Hello, Mayor. I would like to go back to the Fort Ord properties slide that you had. I heard you say that the temporary occupancy tax was one of the top 5 revenues that we were getting. And did I hear you say that once the 270 homes that are slated possible for that area, that you are looking at increasing the TOT revenues from that, from the 270 homes that are potentially being built there, and meaning that would increase the Airbnb numbers that has been already designated for Delray Oaks? Or can you explain what you meant by increasing the TOT revenues from that property sales?
Yeah, thank you for that. I should have clarified that a little bit better. This is in conjunction with the 270, the houses that we're building out there. What I was alluding to is we have the opportunity to potentially build a hotel out there. And that is, I mean, it's unique that we have that much revenue from our short-term rentals, but the majority of cities, majority of jurisdictions get that money from hotels. And that's what I was kind of alluding to. Okay, you're welcome. Yeah, so we received a Caltrans grant to repair that the first time. And what we found, obviously, during the rainy season, that it failed, it slipped. So we're going through the process to see what kind of recourse the city has legally and otherwise. But in addition to that, the thing that we're trying to do is get more grant money for that, because we've had a Caltrans representative come out and take a look at it. And that person is trying their best to get additional grant money to repair that. Yeah, so the question was, did they not do it right? We built in the specifications of the grant, and really the big factor was we had to use native soil, and which is sand in Delray Oaks, and I think that contributed to the issue. But as far as how it was built toward to engineer specifications. John, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, so this is a complex issue. So we're dealing with it on many fronts. One of those is, are there legal ramifications? Was somebody at fault? Was the failure an act of God? Was it bad engineering? Was it bad design or bad implementation? I can tell you that it was constructed per plan, and And so later this week, we're meeting with our city engineer, Sherman Lowe, and with a geotechnical engineer to go out and take a look at it and try to assess what happened. So that's all happening in conjunction with the city attorney. But as the mayor said, we're also working with FEMA and with federal agencies to see if we can come up with new grant money. Since they paid for the first fix, they want it to be fixed longer than a year. so we're working with them to try to get grant money to fix the situation. In the meantime, we're just keeping it stable. That's why there was tarps on it during the rainy season. We took the tarps off. The tarps were failing. They got old, but we took the tarps off also to let it dry out. And then we're trying to get something moving before the next rainy season, especially since it's an El Nino situation that we're in right now. We don't know what that means until we get there, but it could potentially be a very wet, rainy season. So we want to get something done before that happens. We have many fronts going, and we're working on it.
The creek by the park, I'm wondering when it's going to be dredged and running again, maybe look a little nicer.
Yeah, actually, I don't have an answer to that question. That's a good one, though. We'll look into that because it's fenced off right now with the construction of the trail, and so that would require coordination with the construction company. But that might be a good opportunity for us to get the construction company to do the work for us this year. So thank you for that.
Mayor, not a question, just a attaboy. As you know, Quindell and Portola speeding has been an issue for a long time. And since we got the radar thing in my front yard, which, I'm out there all the time, but it's routine, 30 miles an hour, not uncommon, over 35 down through there. This weekend, Saturday, I saw 3 people pulled over. So I just want to say thanks that they're taking some action on that. Hopefully that if that continues, people will start to get the message. They can stop speeding down through there. We're getting a lot more families now. I know on our street, we got more families moving in with little children. We've had some pets get hit on Quindell. So hopefully that can continue, but I just want you to know the residents around, we really appreciated seeing them out there pulling those people over. Cause it's, when I see them 37, 38 flying down through there, you live right down the street, it's not safe. So thank you.
Well, Gary, thank you for that. And, I'll also compliment our police force and our Chief Berkwin. We have the best police force. I mean, I love what they do, how they serve the community, and I'm constantly getting good feedback from residents that have had experiences with our police force. So thank you for that comment, Gary. Yeah, Monterey, you're all right. And I wasn't going to let you sneak in here.
Yeah, I live next to the park, and unfortunately, we've had just the opposite situation with law enforcement. The gates don't get opened on time. The gates don't get closed on time. People do donuts at the end of the street. There's loud music all day long. I take my grandson there on a Sunday, and the park is littered with trash. Nobody is monitoring that park.
Okay, thank you for that. I know there are certain things with the noise and the traffic down at the park, and maybe this is an opportunity for our police chief to respond on what our police force does in the park specifically in terms of patrolling it and taking care of violators down there.
Thank you very much, Mayor. First of all, I'd like you to contact us in person because we need to know those things. If there are issues in the park, thank you. We want to know so that we can address them. Certainly not down the road. We need to address them as they're happening.
The park is an interesting place. Those of you that live at the park know that. It's nice in that we have a lot of visitors to a park. I see a lot of parks not being used. That's not the case with our park. So I like that about it. We have a lot of rentals going on. It is absolutely the responsibility of the police department and the officers who are working on the weekends to be in the park, to check on things. And if that's not happening, those are the kind of things I need to know about. So feel free to contact me anytime. No issue is too small. We do hear about problems in the park every once in a while, but I haven't heard anything in quite a while, to be honest with you. So please contact me. I'd love to sit down with you.
Hi, I'm fairly new. My family and I are fairly new to Delray Oaks. We're really happy to be here. And so my question is not really well informed and it may not even be topical, but I'm curious about how how we're mapping to Seaside High School now. I think there was a time not long ago where Delray Oaks was mapping to Monterey. That was the impression that we were under when we bought our house. Our neighbors who are closer to the park side, we're on the Portola side on the opposite end. I think we saw that we were mapping to Seaside just last year, but our neighbors who've had kids in Monterey High weren't even aware that that's no longer the case. So I'm just curious about that process.
Yeah, that is a question probably best for the Monterey Peninsula Unified School District. I have limited knowledge on, which areas dictate what school that the child will attend. I know there's a process where you can actually request a particular school and they will review that. But I'm not sure exactly where the boundaries are in Delray Oaks. I wish Supervisor Askew was here. She might have a little bit more information, but I'm sorry I can't give you more than that. Or I would ask, is there anybody in the audience that has knowledge of how that process works? Okay.
So, in regards to the Monterey Peninsula Unified School District, years ago, we did have a liaison from the city council that used to attend those meetings to advocate for our residents when they're making those border lines. And it does make a difference, and perhaps you might want to consider having a liaison to the MPUSD to be looking out for those different lines that they're making for kids.
Yeah, thank you for that.
A question about property within the city. Are we looking at that closely as far as fire is concerned? The Oaks is a year and a half ago became I can't remember the name of the it's a national organization, Firewise. We are recognized, the Oaks, as being a Firewise organization. There's a member meeting their requirements as far as my concern, though, is down the hill from us is a piece of property that belongs to the airport. It's between former Roland and the AAA, and that property has not been looked at as the airport clears its property. And then one real quick thing, when Chief gets a chance, can you put out the non-emergency number?
Okay, thank you. The airport did clear the fence line along the Oaks. Are you saying that they excluded that particular portion?
There's a piece of property that's located between AAA and 120 Delray Gardens Drive that belongs to the airport. And it is very bad looking. There's some dead trees in there. And on occasion, there's some homeless in there.
Okay, but it is airport property? Okay.
Yes, it
thank
is
you
airport property.
Yeah, thank you for that. I know that they had cleared along that line, but that property, because of where it's located, they might not have thought about including that when they talk with CAL FIRE. I will talk to the executive director at the airport and make sure that she's aware of that situation. Thank you.
Hi. Not too long ago, I saw a little bit of a rash of illegal dumping here in Delray Oaks, and I know that's something that the city of Seaside's been battling with. So I was just curious how Delray Oaks is grappling with that, partners you're engaged with, different programs, just management of that issue.
Yeah, legal dumping is a constant issue with every city. Within Delray Oaks, it's mainly confined to South Boundary Road because there's less traffic out there, there's less visibility, so dumpers tend to dump out there. We've been very vigilant with the spots that we've recognized where they normally dump. And in those areas, we have cameras that we check periodically. And based on what's dumped out there, Ron Fucci has developed a great sense to find PII in there. And so he's looking at letters. A lot of times when they dump, they have letters in there. It's got their address. So there's been a couple of times where Delray Oaks police shows up at a house in Seaside and says, "Hey, are you this person?" They say yes. And that's how that's how we catch them. We've also used other techniques, and this is really a testament to what our police force does. I mean, in terms of investigations within the police force, you don't want to do something in Delray Oaks and get one of our investigators on you because they're like a pit bull. They will not let go. One of the things in terms of dumping, there were certain items that were dumped at one time, and the police looked to see if they could find that particular, it was a very unique item, and they found it using using Google Maps and all those sorts of things. And we showed up with that particular item or a picture of that item and said, "Is this yours?" And there you have it. So it is a constant challenge for us. One of the things that city manager and I have been talking about is potentially bringing to the council an increase in the dump fine that we charge. We do charge them, and in most cases, we have them go back and pick up their stuff. We make them go back out and do it. But that's one of the things that we're looking at doing is potentially raising that dump fine.
I just had a follow-up question about the park and the cleanup after parties on weekends. What's the rule on that? Is the party responsible, or the permit that they get? Then is the city gonna go and kind of look at it and charge them more if they don't? I mean, there's plastic everywhere and stuff left. Uh,
Okay, good. Um, each person that rents the park has to go to City Hall, and there's an agreement that they sign that spells all of that out and what's allowed, what's not allowed. But I'll allow the city manager to comment on the specific situation.
Well, rather than boring you with my guessing, I'm going to go to the expert, Karen Manami, who you all know. And why would you want to hear from me?
Hey, stand up in front of the whole crowd.
Oh, I have to stand up. Oh my goodness. Well, as you know, oh yeah, ice cream. They sign a waiver that says that they agree to pick up their stuff, cart it out with them, dump it in the garbage cans. If the garbage cans are full, they're supposed to take it with them. They're supposed to leave it the way they found it. And they've initialed to that. There's what, 5 or 6 rules that they initial to. no amplified music. They are signing the fact that they're agreeing to do this. If they're not doing it, that's when you need to call the non-emergency phone number for the police department and let them know the circumstances that are going on.
Yeah, so this is a good segue here to talk about your staff. So all of you who have had interactions with the staff, you have the best staff on the Monterey Peninsula, and I'm saying that to the mayor of Monterey right now. And I used to work for the city of Monterey, and they're awesome. We're better here. That's right. He's a smart man. All right. So, all of you know when you come into City Hall, you know how incredible the staff is. You've all dealt with them. We're lucky to have them. Karen, I was just having some fun getting her up here because she knows everything. She knows where everybody in the city is buried. So you guys should always just listen to her. Right. But also recognize this is your staff for your whole city. So clean up in the park and stuff like that. That's this man right here, along with getting roads done, getting everything, trees trimmed, everything. So one guy. So we do the best that we can, and everybody pitches in. We have police officers sometimes helping Ron clear out storm drains in the winter, and they unlock the gates, and they do a lot of things. I unlock gates. We all do everything. We all wear many hats. So it's a unique staff that you have, and we all pitch in. And so sometimes, we can't get to things as timely as even we would like, but we get to it as quickly as we can. And then, like the mayor was talking about, the question about dumping, we rely heavily on our partnerships. And so out on South Boundary Road, we have multiple jurisdictions out there. We have the Parks District, the City of Monterey, and the county, and they've all been great at working with us. Ron works closely with the City of Monterey staff. They're awesome. The county staff and the Parks District staff, and they help us with the fire clearing. They help us with clearing the brush on South Boundary Road and dumping. But since I've been here, Ron wants to do everything. Ron wants to be everything. Your front office staff wants to do everything, wants to be everything. We work for the city of Delray Oaks. And no disrespect to the mayor of Monterey, but he's got a ton of staff. He's got 400 plus people who work for him, and we don't have that. So on South Boundary Road, when stuff was getting dumped and we would get a phone call, Ron was out there picking it up regardless of whose property it was on. So I'm the mean guy. I came in and said, nope, that's Monterey's. Call Monterey. Fortunately, the city of Monterey staff said, yeah, just tell us where it is, and we'll come out and get it. So it's been great. We rely heavily on our partnerships, and we do the best that we can with the resources that we have.
And just to give you some perspective of how much staff we have 5 full-time staff, and all 5 of them are here. And we have 9 police officers. That's what we have on our payroll. So gives you an idea how small we are.
Laura?
Does anybody in the staff have the non-emergency number that they can give out right now? By any chance? Right at the tip of their tongue?
831-375-8525. I can't tell you how many times I've done this. 831-375-8525. It's on our website. And you know what? Tomorrow we'll put it on Nextdoor. Thank you.
Okay. You mentioned that the trail will be done by the end of the trail would be done by the end of the year.
So what this would bring confidence that that's sector on that on side would be complete by that October 15th. But would imagine commensurate with that, if that's successful, we'll start seeing revenues come down. Before
Yeah, so let me clarify. What I'm saying is that work will definitely continue through the end of the year. I'm sorry if I implied that the project would be done by then, because I, I mean, based on the workers that are on the ground, I think that's not likely. As far as the permit is concerned, they know what the deadline is and the consequences if they don't get there. So what I'm imagining is that they will put the required resources into that area to get that done. And that might be at the expense of another segment of the trail where they got to move workers into that area and get it done. I feel pretty confident that they'll be able to get that done, just because that's a hard suspense, and if they don't meet it, they're adding 4 months, 5 months, 5 months to the timeline. It's like when you want something done, usually giving someone a suspense helps to get it done. That's kind of where they are with it right now. But in terms of when the entire trail will be done, that's a tough guess.
So I can add just a little bit to that. So the permit that the mayor mentioned is a permit specific to working in wetland areas and working next to bodies of water. So that's through Fish and Wildlife. And so that is any work that is going to get them along the creek or in the Frog Pond area. There's other work along Highway 218 and on our corporation yard side that that's not impacted by that permit, but still needs to be done before they can open Carlton and before they can open the park. So I think the best that we've heard so far, the best guess from TAMC is that they're hoping certainly for that part of the project to be done by January, but their plan is to have the entire project done by January. So the permit that the mayor was mentioning is impetus to them to get the Carlton and Frog Pond and 218 and our corporation yard done as soon as possible, because of the permit. They need to get that part of the project done on the park side by October. So they're focusing their energies up there now instead of down at the Safeway area of the project. So I'm not going to say I'm confident, but I'm going to tell you that TAMC's confident that the project's going to be done by January.
Did we run out of juice on it? Okay. Was there a hand back there? Anyone have a question in the back? Okay. Going once? Going twice? No other questions? Okay. Well, hey, I want to thank you once again for taking the time to be here. Hopefully it was worth your while. The city manager and I will be around, rest of the staff. If you have other questions, just feel free to come up and talk with us. So thank you so much.